to learn how people read, how they come to understand the issues that they believe. Why do they hold the opinions that they do? They got it from somewhere. What were their influences? Who do they trust for information? Just knowing what newspaper people read tells you so much about them. You know the frame of reference that they come to with regard to the church in general, with regard to environmental issues. Just knowing these kinds of things really help a lot. Learn if they're on social media. When you're good with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And one of the experiences I've been blessed with is learning from people who are very, very skilled in social media. These are newer tools. These are important. And the Holy Father has spoken on this as well, that we should get involved. We should know. These are key tools of evangelism. This is not just for advocating and be activists on environmental issues. This is for every issue of the church. This is proclaiming the gospel. Within that will come the environmental issues and wanting to protect God's creation. He created it for us. It is our responsibility and our duty to defend it. And that's why you're here, isn't it? To learn how to do that. Social media is over a lot of opportunity. The group from Cardinal Mooney, through a bunch of statistics, through a presentation that they gave, the one that I've seen it before, but it surprised me, I think it was something like 117 million Americans are on Facebook. 117 million. There's only 309 million people in this country. That's 41%. That's an incredible statistic. That's what we call a hangout spot, right? That's where people go. It's a watering hole. It's a modern-day watering hole. It's a public square. That's where we got to be. We got to have some sort of role there. So find out, learn about your audience through those things. Use those tools to learn a little bit about who you're talking to and what are their concerns, and then try to assess that information, and then you're more easily able to get into the hands of others. Part of that involves, as I was reading about a journalist the other day who was talking about becoming an editor and how much different that is from being a journalist, where you're just producing information. But editors have to craft that information a little bit because they're really thinking about the audience a little bit more. He had an interesting point, I thought. He says, as an editor, he'll tell the journalists that report to him, don't give me more, give me less and make it good. Get to the heart of the matter. People have concerns. There's something that they're struggling with, whether it's personally or something else, and they maybe disagree with the church or environmental issue because of something that has nothing to do with the environment. There are people who disagree with us on abortion because of something completely unrelated to abortion. Father didn't look at me right, or I don't like the Eucharist, or whatever it is. Okay, well, let's break down those barriers. Let's be effective communicators by learning about that audience after we've educated ourselves on what it is that they're struggling with. Those two things alone will dramatically improve your effectiveness. The next point is to be action-oriented. So we went from, you've got to be genuine in faith. You've got to have that foundation underneath it. You've got to practice the faith that you believe in. You've got to listen and learn, both the material and your audience. The next is to be action-oriented. People are incredibly attractive to people who act. Activists are kind of attractive because they're out there doing it. They're on the front lines. They're doing the stuff that we're watching them do on TV or reading about in the newspaper. And there's something attractive about that we want to be a part of. We've been getting a lot of calls lately at the diocese about the Health and Human Services mandate. Most of you are aware of what's going on there. And people kept calling and they're supporting it. They're loving Bishop's editorials and his letters to the parishioners and the faithful. They love what he's, the letters that he's putting into the newspapers about it. And they're encouraging us, keep on acting, keep doing it, go, go, go. Well, it's because we were taking, not just Bishop and the diocese, but the bishops throughout the country were taking action. People like that. And they wanted to see, so they were calling up and just saying thank you sometimes. I don't need to call back, just thanks. That's inspiring to hear. But if you call my office and thank us for what we're doing, I'm going to recruit you. Do not be surprised. I'd never let an email address go unabused. If people who call it, I said, be part of that solution, though. Be part of the action. Clearly you believe this stuff. Clearly you're educated on it. That's why you're calling. You're inspired. You know the audience. You're one of the audience. You're part of it. You have people that you can impact. Help us with that. Same thing, that doesn't change for environmental issues. The church will get a lot of credit for what it does in helping, workers in Immokalee, end human trafficking. Louis Faustina's doing in prison ministry. We get a lot of credit for those things. That's great. Well, let's get people involved. Let's show them that foundation for why we do it. That is so powerful. It's tremendously powerful. But it takes being willing to act. And Bishop mentioned this in his homily today. He said it takes sacrifice, and it really does. And it's not easy to do. It takes a little bit of selflessness. You have to lose a little bit of your ego to stand up for what you believe in, because you will be attacked for it. You will be criticized. But that's part of the game. Jesus never said that you wouldn't be criticized. right? Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, right? It's all part of the gospel. It's right there in the teachings of the church. But we have to decide, are we willing to stand up and do something about it? There was a movie, The Untouchables, with Kevin Costner. Some of you all know it. Fantastic movie. I really liked it. It's good. There was an interesting part where Elliot Ness, who's the guy who took down Al Capone and sent him to prison, he's frustrated because of all the things they know about what Al Capone's doing. They see it right there. They just haven't been able to build a case yet. And Jim Malone, who's played by Sean Connery, he gets him riled up. He gets him real excited about it. He's like, "Are you mad? Yeah, I'm mad. You're mad? Yes, I'm mad." And he keeps saying that. Well, then he says, "What are you prepared to do about it?" It's like, "Oh, okay, that sets the tone for the rest of the movie." Suddenly, Elliot Ness realizes, I can't wait on someone else to do this. No one else is going to do it. It's got to be me. People will not be changed by rhetoric. They will be changed by your life. It's not enough to believe what the church teaches. It's not about having the best argument regarding environmental concerns or water quality or peace or all the rest of the issues. People will only look to those teachings of the church, what the church believes. They will only care about that foundation when they see that you're willing to do something about it. So the question is, after you take all this information in all day, you've been given some of the tools, you kind of have a frame of reference now for a lot of this stuff if you didn't come in with it. Some of you came in with, you're teaching this stuff, so you know what it is. But it's, what are you prepared to do about it? So I'm going to go quickly through the last point because I know we're a little over time today. Vision. One of the last points here is vision. You have to be able to see the forest and the trees. The trees are the issues. You've got to engage those issues, but you also got to see the broader context of why the church teaches it. Like I mentioned earlier, and when it comes down to water quality and all these other issues, it's because it comes down to human dignity. It comes down to God's creation. He created us and we should defend it. That's the principle that we stand on. That's why we move forward. That's why we have to act. That's why we should educate ourselves with these issues and all those kinds of things. I'm going to read two quotes to finish up here, both by Pope Benedict, and it wraps it up here in being genuine about it all. It said, "The Magi were, as we might say, men of science, but not simply in the sense that they were searching for a wide range of knowledge. They wanted something more. They were men with restless hearts, not satisfied with the superficial or the ordinary. They were men in search of God, watchful men, capable of reading God's signs, his soft and penetrating language. But they were also courageous, yet humble. We can imagine them having endured a certain amount of mockery for setting off to find the King of the Jews, at the cost of so much. For them it mattered little what this or that person, what influence or clever people might say about them. For them it was the question of truth itself, not human opinion. Hence they took upon themselves the sacrifices and the effort of a long and uncertain journey. Their humble courage was what the promised King, the one they set out for on both their outward and their inward journey, to seek and to know." Never lose sight of that. You want to be an effective communicator? Listen to the words of the Holy Father there. Never stop seeking. Never stop wanting to know more. It's not about being the most articulate. It's not about being the best writer. It's not about having all the latest social media tools. It's about being what you're called to be as a follower of Christ. You have the potential to change someone's life. It goes way beyond environmental issues. This comes down to the gospel. This is about saving people's souls. And you can do it through environmental issues. Just think about how powerful it is. You do what you're called to do, which is to protect the environment. But you can save someone's soul in the process by drawing them into the church through that issue to the fullness of truth. How incredibly powerful. And I end with this. Another quote from Pope Benedict. "Our heart is restless for God and remains so, even if every effort is made today by means of the most effective and anesthetizing methods to deliver people from unrest. But not only are we restless for God, God's heart is restless for us. God is waiting for us. He is looking for us. He knows no rest either until he finds us. That is why he set out on the path towards us, to Bethlehem, to Calvary, from Jerusalem to Galilee, and on to the very ends of the earth. God looks out for his people willing to catch his unrest, his passion for us, people who carry within them the searching of their own hearts. We change public opinion, we influence other people, not by what we say or the opinions we hold, by the people we are because of the faith that we share. That's how you effectively communicate for the church. God bless you. Thank you very much for having me.